The leeward mark and the spinnaker douse are opportunities to either make up distance lost in other areas of the race, or to maintain on boats gained in previous maneuvers. Order and organization are the name of the game here, so that the driver can take full advantage of opportunities that arise during the mark rounding. All douses follow roughly the same process, with the crew hoisting the genoa or jib, dropping and stowing the spinnaker pole, dousing the spinnaker, rounding the mark, trimming in and heading up. These procedures have two phases though. The first is the actual douse of the spinnaker, which may begin well before the 2 boat length circle. The second is the rounding and trimming of the sails. Because we are instructing for windward leeward race courses, it's important to note that the spinnaker always comes down on the port side of the boat, regardless of the jibe the boat approaches the mark on, or the mark rounded if there is a gate involved, which forces us to be proficient in both the windward douse, which happens when approaching on port tack, and the leeward douse, which happens when approaching on starboard tack. The driver's best way to control the rounding is to recognize the tempo of the douse and initiate the process early, so that the spinnaker is no longer an issue as the boat rounds the mark and the sails are trimmed in. During the first phase of the rounding, with the spinnaker coming down, the driver may have to preset the backstay and traveler, and may need one last look around for tactical considerations or discussion of overlap with other boats. Once within 2 boat lengths, the driver must be focused on the turn the boat makes and the trimming necessary on the main. I always prefer to use the main as the driving force in the turn and let the tiller follow the sails trim. During the first phase of the rounding, the trimmer is focused on keeping the spinnaker full and pulling, even without the pole. Then, as the sail drops, the trimmer strips the starboard sheet to be sure that the sail can clear around the boat, and then he goes for the genoa sheet. Because the sails are driving the turn of the boat, it's just fine for the trimmer to stay in the cockpit to focus on the pace of the trim and the extent to which the sail is trimmed in. The trimmer should not sacrifice quality for a quick jump to the rail here. As part of that, you can see Mattia skirting the foot of the genoa by giving the lifeline a good thump with his hand. The tactician must be an animal on the douse. He or she is focused on course considerations and overlap with other boats just to the point where the sail comes down. Then, the tactician quickly shifts into the role of gathering the sail. The spinnaker should be pawed at with open hands, grabbing the loose material first, and never yanking on the parts that are tight. Done well, this position can be the second on the rail, but may have to be the last depending on the mess that can develop inside the boat. With this crew, we have Robbie initially hoisting the genoa because of his personal preference, but this job can be passed off to the bowman or mastman. The mastman has a variety of roles. When the pole leaves the sail, he or she may perform a job we refer to as the human pole before assisting in gathering the spinnaker. Then this position hustles to the rail for the first glimpse up the course, and these eyes may be vital for the first decision made after the mark rounding. Observations even from an inexperienced crew could make a major difference in the overall race. The bowman sets the pace and tempo to the douse because his or her actions initiate the first phase of the process. As a result, there are some situations because of congestion with other boats or a slow to vocalize driver that require the bowman to understand the time and distance necessary to accomplish the job. I encourage bowmen to just begin the process even if I have not said anything, because only a bowman knows how long he or she needs. He or she must raise the genoa, drop and stow the pole, release the spinnaker halyard, hike out, and use the skirt line to skirt the foot of the genoa if necessary. Keep in mind that in order to be successful in defending or seizing an opportunity at the mark rounding, The first phase involving the dowse of the spinnaker must be complete before moving on to the actual rounding itself. Failure to complete the dowse in time can cost you with a turn that's too wide and not enough room to tack if necessary.